Welcome to the Wellness Across the Lifespan project number 1, where we're going to be covering toddlers. Who are toddlers, and what do you think of when you think of toddlers? Some words that come to mind for me are challenging, growing, fussy, little, curious, terrible twos, silly, learning, and developing. Toddlers are defined as ages 1 through 3. And I was kind of curious, where did this word come from? So I looked it up on vocabulary.com and found that the word toddler was first used in 1793 and is developed out of the Scottish word toddle, or to run or walk with short, unsteady steps. It is easy to say that a lot of development goes on during this age period, but how much of that exactly is going on? And what do you think of when you think of a 1-year-old? I know that I basically think of still an infant. They can maybe walk a little bit, say a few words, but what about a 3-year-old? They are old enough to go to preschool. They can walk, run a little bit, they can understand and form some sentences. So what we're going to talk about is the social, emotional, physical, and cognitive development of toddlers to get a better idea of just how much development is going on here. First, we're going to talk about social, emotional. Toddlers have such a high dependency on their caregivers to take care of their needs. It felt only appropriate to start with social, emotional development. Parents of toddlers play a huge role in their social emotional development. And according to Dr. Baca and her dissertation, parents' style of parenting usually and often resulted from their own experience of being a child. So you will hear some parents say that they do not want to be like their parents, which is true, but a lot of our unconscious base understanding is rooted in our own experience. And in another study titled Family Experiences, Parenting Behaviors, and Infants and Toddlers' Social and Emotional Skills, the researchers found that maternal sensitivity and parental education levels were positively associated with toddlers' social and emotional competence. So what that means is that when they had maternal caregivers who were sensitive to their needs, and then parents who had higher education levels, usually resulted with toddlers that were more competent in their abilities and social and emotional skills. So we know that caregivers play a huge role in the development for toddlers, but what does that even look like or mean? In the study, Compliance or Empathy, What Links Maternal Sensitivity and Toddlers' Emotional Helping, they found that positive social emotional competence meant children were able to express feelings of empathy. And empathy is just being able to recognize and understand the feeling and needs of someone else. And empathy really begins to develop around this age and is shaped by the parental relationships and what they are shown and how much they are given that sensitivity as well, like we discussed. This is crucial for making connections and friendships and developing into a social human being. And children at this age do not know how to express how they are feeling and often get big outbursts of emotions, and they cry and scream when they don't get what they want. And the terrible twos is really defined by these intense feelings. In a video about age 2 development, Cheryl Pollock discusses how children at this age feel independent, and they're going to express that loudly. At this age, they typically engage in parallel play and are beginning to learn how to play with others. So what that means is the child is often playing next to other children, but not playing with other children. Children may be learning empathy, but this age is all about modeling behavior. It's normal for them to be more focused on themselves. And as caregivers, our modeling is very important at this age for their social development. For physical development, toddlers are growing constantly, and this age is defined by many milestones, such as walking and running and being able to play and navigate the world. Physical development, though, is often thought of as like the typical height, weight in children of this age, since they are constantly growing and there's so much change. At the end of this stage, a Howcast video told me that it's average at age 3 boys to be around 29 to 34 pounds and 36 to 39 inches tall. And for girls, about 28 to 33 pounds and 36 to 38 inches tall. These are just standards, like in averages though. Development can look so much different on every single child, and sometimes girls develop quicker than boys. So it's not necessarily a hard, steadfast truth, but more of a guideline and something that pediatricians can use to base some of the children's off of. For cognitive development, in a study done by Veldman and Moore, they found that this stage of development for toddlers is marked heavily by development of gross motor skills. So this goes back to when we were talking about parallel playing. During the time, kids will do activities like block building and working on bigger, more defined movements. So they're working on running and they're working on moving their feet in a coordinated way, and they're learning how to run, which also relates back to our definition of toddlers. Like, they toddle around, they're learning to navigate the world around them, and their social and their skills are their skills are not as refined, meaning they walk and run in short and uneven steps. And because children at this age want their independence, it's important to empower them in decision making. And one personal example I found through being a nanny to children is giving kids the illusion of choice. For example, if we're going to cross the street, the child needs to hold someone's hand, but if I say, "You need to hold my hand," they're going to protest. Instead, you say something like, "Would you rather hold my hand or your grandma's hand while we walk across the street?" Giving them illusion that they have that choice there. Another example is giving kids these really small choices, like asking them, "Do you want a blue, purple, or pink popsicle?" And they get very excited when they get to make a decision for themselves, because a lot of things are already decided for them. And a newer conversation that I felt was worthy of bringing up in cognitive development is about screen time during early childhood and the developmental impact. There's a lot of speculation on social media and a lot of trollers out there probably just saying how it's bad for children's development, but is not backed in any scientific claims. In the article that I had found in 2023, which was titled "Associations of Screen Use with Cognitive Development in Early Childhood, the ELFE Birth Cohort," there were just weak associations between cognitive development and screen time use. And it seems that more than screen time would be a factor that would have to change development. But this is something that could be researched further and may have long-term effects that we're not aware of yet. And what I mean by that is screen time hasn't been proven as a single factor that can contribute to worsening cognitive development, but there certainly is that possibility for more research to be done, but there's no evidence-based studies yet that are showing strong correlations. According to our textbook, some development that can start at age 1 would be walking while holding onto something and scribbling with a crayon, and that's at the beginning of this toddler stage. And all the way up to 3, at the end of the toddler stage, they can walk upstairs, hop on one foot, button clothing, eat with a spoon and fork, do puzzles. As we can tell from these very different skills, so much cognitive advance goes on during these stages, developing gross skills and beginning to refine those fine motor skills. Toddlers also begin to develop memory, and they can recognize and recall things from memory. There is so much during this time frame, it would be impossible to cover it all. But I wanted to stress again the importance that Dr. Singletary found in her dissertation about how caregiving just plays a huge role in cognitive development during this age. Toddlers have many needs that need to be communicated in a specific way that helps them learn communication. Again, modeling. Additionally, their needs have to be met in order for them to feel safe and mediate any stress response that they're feeling, which is key for developing secure attachments. I hope this brief podcast provided you some insight into the life of a toddler and really their caregivers too, since they are a duo. One cannot be without the other. My goal was to provide some new insight that were different from what we already studied in the book. And in the next episode, we'll cover our second age range.